Welcome back to the Last Call podcast. I'm here, your host, Arthur G. Most weeks we dive into mash bills, mixology techniques, speaking to people in the spirits industry and those behind those labels, and craft behind those your favorite glass. But today we are looking at how whiskey can be a vehicle for something much bigger. I'm sitting down with Luis Martinez Jr., a retired 5-year U.S. Marine, Tillman Scholar, and the founder of the Whiskey Valor Foundation. Their motto is more than whiskey, and under Luis's leadership, they mean it. Instead of traditional absentee programs, Luis built his organization to meet veterans exactly where they are through initiatives like the Rideshare program, which not only prevents DUIs, but acts as an early warning system to identify underlying struggles like PTSD or financial issues in their fully funded wellness retreats. They're using single barrel picks and the camaraderie of the bourbon community to save lives. It's a powerful conversation about spirits, service, and stepping up for those who served. So let's get into it, and welcome to the show, Luis. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, man. It's a Friday night, get to talk whiskey and, meet a new friend, so I can't complain.
Cheers, man. I'm glad to connect with you. I know shouts to Mike from the Craft Initiative that's coming up here in September in Tampa, Florida. I'm in Orlando, but he's coming up in Tampa, Florida. I saw that you were one of the organizations he was partnering with, so definitely wanted to reach out and show some love and support for what you're doing. So tell us about yourself, man. I mentioned to the listeners at home that you served, but how did you come about this path and your time in the service and just who you are?
Yeah, so I served 5 years in the Marine Corps, but I grew up a military brat. My dad served 33 years in the Navy. Mm-hmm. So when he retired, I think it's almost 5 years ago, I think I just turned 30. He was in the military longer than I had been alive by the time he retired. So around it my whole life, always thought I would serve in the Navy, but just when I went through the recruiter, different paths came along, and I was fortunate enough to decide to become a Marine, and that's where I became a geospatial intelligence analyst. Fancy words for, hey, I made maps. But it was a great career for me in the military. It's how I met my wife, and it led me to the life I have now. So as you mentioned, like when I got out, went to school, Tillman Scholar, went to Texas A&M, and then I was able to get, at the time, the dream job. I was a LiDAR scientist for the Department of War. Got to do great work supporting the warfighter afterwards, but I kind of had a sense of like feeling empty, like something was missing. And I'd done some reflection for some work I did while I was at Texas A&M, and I realized it's because I wasn't doing what my passion was and my purpose. And so after some reflection, I was like, well, I want to help vets, but I want to do it in a way that is doing something I love. And at the time, I was really getting into whiskey, so I figured out how can I bring vets and whiskey together.
That's awesome. And when you said you were really into whiskey, was that just something that you stumbled upon because of your time with friends? Anything? Well, how were you introduced to that world? And like, what I know that spirits just seems kind of synonymous with just social, but was that something you just fell into it?
Yeah, so like I was a Jack and Coke guy, which my friends would probably scoff at that now. Like when I was a Marine, and when I was a young Marine, it was drink as much as you could, as quickly as you could. Right? There was no sipping to talk notes or, just have a conversation. We're just drinking to get drunk, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But I was, by chance, the Tillman Foundation, right after like COVID started opening up, invited several of us scholars out to Louisville, Kentucky for a wellness retreat. And just, the nerd that I am, I started like, well, what's Louisville, Kentucky known for? And so whiskey, bourbon and all that came up. And I stumbled across Neat, the documentary.
Oh, I love that documentary.
I watched that, and that just like clicked something in me. I was like, oh, wow, like it's not just alcohol, getting drunk. There's camaraderie, there's story, there's art, there's science. Mm-hmm. And that's when, I kind of, if anybody who knows me, they know like I don't just start a hobby and like a little like dip my toe in it. I kind of go full force. Mm-hmm. And I just went from reading books, listening to YouTube, all that, and then wanting to go on tours just to learn. And it quickly became less about the drinking, but just wanting to hear the stories.
What was the first distillery you stopped in?
Ooh, first distillery I stopped in.
Yeah, you did the research. You went to Louisville. What was the first one?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. That's 5 years, almost 4 years ago. The first tour I did, like official tour, was probably, I I think Buffalo Trace was the first like official one I did.
Mm.
And I just remember being like in awe of it, right? Like, oh man, this is Buffalo Trace where all this happens and all that now. And it was something I'll never forget because it was actually with my buddies. We went on, it was a bachelor party. And it's not when I was younger, oh, we're going to go to Vegas, do this wild stuff. Now we went to Kentucky, got to go to a bunch of distilleries and just taste some good whiskey and hear the stories of how these brands came to be. It was a lot of fun.
That was one of my favorite tours. I actually have a couple photos sitting there, and I even met Freddie from one of those, I think from that very same documentary.
Yeah, he's in it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was one of those really cool experiences. And I can't agree enough that part of what I enjoyed about Spirits was more than just the storyline. Yeah. And we were all there where I was just trying to get drunk and find the fastest way to do it and the easiest, cheapest way to do it because, grow broke. But as you get older, there is an appreciation for those processes and those people and the people and just what that goes through. So that's fun that you just nerded out. Said, I got to find out where we're going to see what's it's known for. And it happens to be Louisville. Imagine how different your life would have been if the first thing that came up was Kentucky Derby, their horses.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't have enough money to buy a Derby horse, so that would have been a barrier of entry there. But I mean, I guess with as much money I spent on whiskey now, I probably could get close to having a decent horse.
Just at least one by now.
Yeah.
But how different the life would have been if that was being held, I don't know, Philadelphia, and you got into cheesesteaks.
Yeah.
That's just a funny thought. But for those who don't know what the Pat Tillman Scholar program is, like, what goes into it? How do people get selected? And tell us more about it.
Yeah. So that is for active duty service members, reservists, veterans, and the spouses of someone who falls in that category.
Uh-huh.
And you have to be a full-time student, and they fund you to go to school. And like they're looking for the next leaders, of our nation. So I was fortunate enough. I like to joke around. It must have been an off year, was COVID, how I got in. But I had submitted while I was working on my PhD, which I'm still slowly working on. Having a kid slows things down. But I was working on mapping GPS denied environments, and they saw something in my story of what I'm trying to change in the previous world I was in. But that scholarship, I've said it before, and I will always say it. I would give back every penny they've given me plus interest for the people. Like, it was just, the money was great to help pay for school, and not focus on having to work. But the people they've introduced to me, the opportunities going to Louisville, Kentucky would not be where I'm at today if it wasn't for that. Yeah. It's a great organization, great people. And it's just like, I hate talking about it this way because it sounds like I'm talking about myself, but very high achieving people who are super selfless. And you go to these things and you rarely hear someone talk about themselves. You hear them telling about like, oh, you need to go meet this guy, or you need to meet this girl. Like, you need to meet this person who's doing this amazing thing in their respective field. And it's just a great time. They're actually there at Pat Tillman Leadership Summit this weekend. Oh, nice. I couldn't make it just because of some family obligations. But the new group of scholars come in and they get to meet some veteran scholars, as you could say, who've been around a little bit longer. And there's just an opportunity to connect and go make impact in the world. That's
fantastic. I was unaware. I was as a civilian, I wouldn't have known all those details, but that I like the fact that you're surrounded by people who are selfless. I think people are who they surround themselves with, who they spend the most time with. And it just that's the kind of healthy echo chamber where everyone's trying to do something bigger than themselves. So that's good to know. Something I'm definitely going to share with some of my friends.
Definitely should look it up. It's in honor of Pat Tillman, football player who was unfortunately killed while deployed. But I will it's funny. People always say, like, oh, you're doing great things at Whiskey Valor. You're doing amazing things. But honestly, if it wasn't for my Tillman Scholar, who I consider family, if it wasn't for them opening up doors or introducing me to people or just giving their time and money, Whiskey Valor would not be where it is today.
Fair enough. That makes a lot of sense. And I want to know more about Whiskey Valor. And so for those tuning in and to just see the tasting events, the barrel picks, which I saw the listing, and those seem like some pretty solid bottles, Project X and a couple of those. What is the core mission driving Whiskey Valor Foundation?
Yeah, we get that a lot. People are like, oh, you're just getting veg drunk or you're wanting to drink. And I tell them, no, it's not that. It's what we like to say, we're more than whiskey. And our goal is to eliminate DUIs in the military. So instead of telling you, a service member, or anyone, don't drink, drinking's bad. We all know drinking's not good for you. It's not, not going to make anything better. But we want to take the approach of meeting service members where they're at. If I come to you and say, don't do something, or trying to sway you from something, you're automatically going to put up a wall and listen to me a little less. It's like, hey, we know you're drinking. You're going to go have fun. Be responsible. Go have fun. But don't get behind the wheel at the end of the night. And that's where we step in with our big goal is eliminating DUIs in the military. So we provide Uber vouchers, Lyft vouchers. Right now to targeted events because we're still raising money. We're less than 2 years old. But my ultimate goal is we have enough money in the bank, enough sponsors and donors to where any service member in the world has one too many, or their DD leaves early or something happens. There's no question. They open up their phone. They know they have an Uber covered by Whiskey Valor to get them home safely.
That's fantastic work. And I think that one of my commercials that we do that I've done myself is don't drink and drive, be responsible, take care of yourself, all that. And I joke about it because I think there's a lot to be said in humor. There's like a couple of things like don't drink and drive, don't text your ex, avoid Amazon while click buy, like do the smart thing. And there's always options. So the fact that you're giving someone like, hey, don't worry about surge charges, don't worry about anything here, do it. What was the moment or what event happened that it clicked to you like they need this? This is something that should be brought up more and not just necessarily ignored.
Yeah. So like when Whiskey Valor first started, admittedly, it was a little selfish. Like, hey, I want to drink whiskey with my vet buddies and we'll donate money to causes that we believe in. But as we were talking like, hey, how do we make it more than whiskey? Like we don't want to just people think we're getting together to get drunk. We started thinking what we could focus on. It's like, well, let's work on getting rid of DUIs. Like we're drinking, we're not doing anything bad. We're literally having a conversation of how we can impact our fellow service members so we can use whiskey to do good. But like, how do we prevent them from getting in trouble? So that's where we started the Rideshare program. As year to date, we're at 570 DUIs that we've prevented that were Rideshare vouchers that were used. And then our other big program, we focus on mental health. People may like kind of scoff or like raise their eyebrow when we're like talking about drinking whiskey and mental health. I think they go hand in hand. A lot of people lean on alcohol when they're struggling. And we want to tell people like, hey, like you don't need the alcohol. There's other things there. And then we're here to talk to you about it. And we've found that whiskey or, having a drink with someone brings them in and you got to get to build relationships. And then now they start coming to you without alcohol involved, seeking assistance or just an ear to listen so they can deal with some of the struggles they're having in life. That's brilliant. I agree with you. I think that if used properly, everyone who listens to this show knows I talk about, everyone who listens to this show knows that I talk about 3 universal languages is spirit, like drinks, food, and music. And giving that creates communal spaces, that creates little pinpoints in time for you and memories. And having those catalysts for good conversation and connection is part of just building a community in general. So doing it responsibly takes away a lot of the problems related to it. And you take this interesting approach that I think that I know you probably going to share on your own, but how this realistic approach, you change the way that you also deliver the education of it and support and what follows after. So do you mind expanding on that for those at home? Yeah. So I think I'm getting more comfortable with doing things differently. Initially, like when you're starting, like, hey, you don't want to rock the boat, go against the grain. People are going to like, hey, they're not serious. But I'm realizing the reason people want to come to us is because we're not the traditional organization. So when we do whiskey education, we have whiskey and drinking involved, right? Like, hey, it's one thing, what we used to call in the military death by PowerPoint. You don't want to have me just clicking here saying drinking does this, does that.
It's not just military. Death by PowerPoint exists.
You're right. You're 100% right.
I just want to be clear. I also.
So we don't want to do that, right? We want to have that PowerPoint up there, but have a pour of whiskey, and then we're going to provide Rideshare vouchers. One of the things that we're working on now is we're trying to form relationships with police agencies. And I learned through this cool thing they do. It's called wet labs. So they need civilians to come in and get drunk so they can test their police on doing DUI stops, right? All the testing. And we want to take it a step further. And the idea being, hey, a veteran comes in, we want them to take a survey. and say, hey, how many drinks do you have before you think you're good? Oh, I can have 3 beers or 3 whiskeys and I'm still good to drive. Okay, cool. We're not going to share your answers with anybody. But as we go through that process, to get you drunk so you can get tested by the police, we're going to get you, you're going to breathalyze at those different stages, 1 drink, 2 drink, 3 drinks. And hopefully we're giving you that reality check of like, hey brother, after your second drink, you were over the limit, or after your first one, you were not okay to drive. And here are like the science facts behind it. Like it was just not just me telling you that. And hopefully give someone that reality check, that punch in the mouth of like, oh, what I thought, always told 2 drinks, a 1 drink an hour works. And depending on your body, that may not work for you.
Yeah. And even that, I don't know where that science came from. That feels like one of those myths that have never really existed, but someone said it loud enough and often enough. 1 drink an hour. Like,
yeah, 1 drink an hour, drink water, eat bread, and you'll be fine, right?
Have coffee.
We want to dispel those myths. Yeah, exactly. Dispel those myths so people know, and again, change how people approach it. And what we say is the military alcohol is part of military culture. It's part of drinking is part of it.
Yeah.
We just want to make it responsible drinking a culture in the military now.
Yeah, that's fair. I know you highlighted and mentioned also the mental health aspect of it. And I say this as just modern. I think we've kind of evolved just as people, men, especially military people that are supposed to be machismo and all that. Mental health is a sensitive subject, right? And when you're talking about military dudes, how is that conversation approached in a constructive and not almost ostracizing manner? How do you have this conversation with those who are, hey, you're drinking, and how does that look like, and how do you approach it?
Yeah, so we, I guess the way we approach it head on is our wellness retreats. We like to, I say mental health, but when we call the retreats wellness, because, I like it to be vague because what's wellness to you is different from me, to her, to him, right? Like it's all different things. But when people apply for these retreats, we pay for every single thing, but we let them know like, hey, you're going to be challenged physically, mentally, emotionally. This isn't for you to just get a vacation. Yeah. Hey, Whiskey Valor is going to pay the bar tab, or Whiskey Valor is going to pay for my flight. And we have honest, real conversations. We're fortunate enough to have great partners like the Big Fish Foundation, where we held our first retreat. We ended up having 18 veterans and active duty service members attend. And there was tears shed. There's people who said they talked about things for the first time in years or ever. And it was a very, I would say, like freeing moment for some. They got to get some stuff off their chests and be around like-minded people in an environment where like, hey, this is a judgment-free zone. Yeah. And it's one of those things where I was nervous to do it. I know the great work Tosh and his organization does, but like it was impactful for me from when I attended. I was like, well, I'm bringing 18 people now. Hopefully they get what I got out of it. Yeah. And fortunately they did, because they know what they're doing. But we want to just change that stigma of, hey, if I talk about what I'm struggling with, that means I'm weak or I'm less than. I think it makes you stronger, because like to be able to identify something you're struggling with and talk about it, that takes a lot of courage, in my opinion.
Oh, 100% agreed. And I think that the world is adapted a lot to understand that mental health is one of the biggest factors in your overall health. If you're not right mentally and you're dealing with some things and you push them down, look, I'm not a doctor. Anyone at home is like, I'm not a doctor. I just, what I've read, it's just obvious that it's important to have these conversations, especially with military coming back, dealing with underlying drivers like PTSD, financial stress, or relationship problems. I mean, I have plenty of friends that are military veterans that have shared that assimilating back to normal everyday life is its own stressor, let alone everything else packaged with it. The friends that you had when you went in are completely different when you come back. You can't have the same conversations with the people that are in your civilian life. Like that also feels isolating. And for those, like, can you walk us through some of those check-ins afterwards? Like you go to the retreat, you have those moments, and you can't have a vacation every week. You can't have a retreat every week. What does that process look like after?
Man, I wish we could afford to have a vacation every week. But we're not there, and unfortunately, it's not how life works. But
I'll buy as many bottles as I can. But
we have a group chat actually for all of our attendees that went on, and it's slowed down a little bit because life's starting to move on. But they'll check in on each other. I've seen on social media a couple of our attendees who didn't know each other prior to the event have met up since then.
Oh.
One of our attendees, she moved to Hawaii for grad school, so she stopped and visit one of the other attendees in California, and they hung out together.
Okay.
And just that would have never happened if they hadn't met there. And so it's a great opportunity for people to connect. And what I'm trying to do, which they all love the idea, because I joke around with they just want another trip paid for. But I was like, hey, like, what do you guys think about like an alumni group where in the future, when we have future retreats, we bring a handful of the ones who've gone through the program to come help and be like mentors of, hey, like, this is what we did. This is what struggles we talked about. We want to keep people involved. And mainly with our rideshare program, we're still building that system. So there's a lot of ideas that on paper sound very easy, but you got to build robust systems to handle it. Our goal is to have a system a veteran or service member logs into, right? They have to prove that they rate this service that, hey, I served or I am serving. And then we will track their usage, right? So we see like, hey, you used it on this day, call, check in. Hey, hope you're good. But if maybe we see an uptick, right? Like, hey, now you're using like every other day or every week. Let's reach out. Like, is there something going on, like a breakup, financial issue? And the goal of that is to hopefully have these check-ins, build trust with these service members and vets, and we can identify an issue early and get them the resources. And part of what we do with our single barrels is we partner with other nonprofit organizations, and that's done on purpose because now we have a Rolodex of friends. So if there's something that's outside of our scope of expertise, we lean on one of our friends and bring that veteran to that organization that has that expertise. No one should be alone in this fight. I think we do a lot better when we collaborate. And the idea of catching them early is that way they're not leaning on alcohol in that time of need. They're getting help and access to resources.
I love that. And you're right. You'll get further together than you would by yourself. You can't do it all. And the fact that, and there are plenty of organizations there are a lot of organizations that are doing a lot of good work. We recently had an interview with Dr. Ken Thompson of Trendsetter Spirits, where 100% of their proceeds go to back to finding places to stay for homeless veterans. Like, these are like that's 100% of the proceeds. Not a single dime is going. I'm like, how are you functioning? He's like, it's what matters. I'm like, okay. Like, so there are a lot of organizations we just have to look and continue that. I love the fact that you said that you have a Rolodex. If it's something outside of my scope, I got you. Let me figure it out.
Yeah. And that's what I realized. Like, I've been fortunate enough to where I've gone to different organizations that's helped me in certain aspects of my life. And I think I've become, I don't know if my wife would agree with being mature enough to realize this, but I'm going to say mature enough to realize this, that we can't do everything on our own. So I might be able to fill your cup 20%, but that's still 80% that's missing. Let's go get you and put you in the right direction so you can go get that, whether that's from 4 more other organizations or one other that gets you to where you need to be.
Awesome, man. I'm going to send your wife this clip. No, I'm joking. But I do love that that partnership is there. Part of the reason why I even looked into you was because of Mike from Craft, which is another giant partnership with military associated brands, labels, and organizations that are doing something for the veterans. With your recent wellness retreat, I think it took place in Colorado this past May. How did the first trip go for the 25 veterans, and what was the most significant moment you witnessed for growth?
Yeah, it was stressful. I mean, from my perspective, right? Stressful because I'm making sure everything's happening. I had my team with me, and honestly, like,
what was the planning process? What was the planning like? How long did that take to plan even?
Oh, man. So we planned, I think we set the dates probably late 2025. And then kind of we had to wait a little bit because, like, hey, we got to make sure we get the money in, how are we going to do this? How to do, applications, we reviewed things. And, we wanted to take it serious. And like, even though we're new, we turned some people away because they're like, hey, if we're spending a lot of money, there's going to be a lot of effort you have to put in. And if you answered a question with 2 words, but that was like, hey, this is probably at least a paragraph minimum, like what you should have put into this.
Yeah.
We're like, well, hey, if they can't take it serious here, how do we expect them to take it serious on the mountains when they have to be vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
So we did that. We had some amazing partners help with our travel in terms of like booking everything, getting travel for like 20 something people to all line up within an hour of arriving at the airport, hotels, rental cars is a lot of work. So very fortunate in that sense. And then the execution, if it wasn't for Carol Harris, him, retired Marine and law enforcement, federal law enforcement officer, and Enrique, retired Marine, being there to act as like staff. I would not have been able to do this. There was a lot of things where you're like, hey, on paper, everything's good to go. You show up and they're like, oh, you're coming today? And we're like, what? We've had this booked for months. Like, what are you talking about? So, there were some hiccups there where I don't know if the attendees really noticed some of it. But, we powered through. We, we like saying the Marine Corps, adapt and overcome. We figured it out.
Yeah.
But I would say the most impactful thing to me is we had a guy there who we had met, in Virginia at an event. He's a quiet guy, doesn't really talk much, but started coming out more out of his shell and would reach out to us about things after we had a drink, right? He's like, hey, I trust you. We had a drink together. I got to see you under the influence. You're the same guy drinking as you are sober. I want to talk to you about things sober now that are bothering me. So we've built a great relationship in that sense. And then he opened up on the retreat, and I'm getting a little emotional even thinking about it, is he was like, hey, brother, like, if it wasn't for Whiskey Valor, like coming into my life when it did, I don't know if I'd be here. And like that moment right there, like, oh man, sorry, getting a little teary out here. That moment right there took
apologize.
All like the stress. And I'm like, oh, are we doing the right thing? I was like, that's it. Like, I'll do this, deal with all the stress. I'll continue to lose my hair if we can give that moment to other people. Because, it's one of those things like you hope to help someone, but when you hear someone being genuine and it came out of nowhere, like we weren't talking about things. He's just like, hey, I need to talk to you. And that's when I knew like, okay, this is more than whiskey. We are having an impact. The things that we're saying aren't just things that I come up with late at night to try to get someone to donate. We're having real impact and we're helping veterans.
I love that, man. And there's one, never apologize for ever being emotional around me, ever. Or in general, man. That's, you said it yourself in the beginning, being emotional, being vulnerable, that's important. That's a strength. And two, that's commendable. Being able to give that person that moment. And it is always wild that it'll be in that moment of like silence where the person you thought was, like, I don't know if this is landing. I don't know if this is going well. You're like, hey, thank you very like that. Even if I thank you, you're like, what the fuck? Just don't do that to me. Like, this is amazing. So good. I'm glad that went well, especially with the first one. And you're right. They couldn't see you sweat. Like, they were not like you had to get locked in, make sure everything was done and everything was going well. And they weren't stressed about it. Like it is tough. People will always think, even planning the smallest events. I have people who can't take vacations together, let alone like organizing a wellness retreat for 25 veterans and making sure it went off without a hitch. That's insane. So pat yourself on the back.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it was good. I would say actually the best thing now is I just had a conversation. We haven't announced this publicly, so you're getting first news here.
Heard it here first.
Talked to Big Fish and Tosh, and I was like, hey, thanking them. We had a call the other day, and I was like, we'd love to come back, and they're like, we'll have you back next year. So we already started the very initial planning, but we will be back in Colorado in 2027, and we look forward to taking another group of veterans out there.
That's amazing work, man. Congratulations for doing it landing so well, and already next year. Now next year, we're gonna be no sweat. You already did it this year. It's gonna sweat.
Yeah, I'm gonna sweat. I'm sweating now thinking about it.
But I'm glad, man. That's fantastic. Giving them another year. And like you said, if you're starting to build this kind of alumni group that could bring in other veterans, there are people that you might not have noticed or might not know, and they could be advocates, and this could create this giant chain of people like, hey, it worked. I'm sure they have friends, they have people in their lives that like, you need to do this. Once they become advocates and saw that the progress was there and the process worked, let's go. So cheers to that. I know we've been drinking, but cheers to that.
I appreciate it. And also, we're probably the only, actually, I'm be willing to say we're the only wellness retreat out there in the veteran space where we did a barrel pick at the end of our retreat.
Tell me about that. And who was the barrel pick with?
So we were in Colorado. Very fortunate. Our friends at Onyx and Amber, man, can't say enough about them. Great guys. There's one of those things where I always feel bad coming to them with an ask because I know that they're not going to say no to me, but I always make sure it's a good ask. But they hosted our entire group out there. Took us through a barrel that we selected for the attendees. And so our goal is once we bottle that, get that going, we're going to send them all a bottle. It was like, hey, that's part of you coming on this retreat. You get this. But the funds from that barrel help fund next year's retreat. So they get to always pay it forward. And then hopefully the next retreat gets to do the same exact thing. And then another thing, just to put a feather in their cap at Onyx and Amber, one of our partners, Blue Skies Foundation, they support Gold Star Army Aviation families. So if there's a Army Aviation mishap, they step in and raise funds to give to the families that just suffered the loss of a service member. We've done what we call the QRF in the military, that's Quick Reaction Force, but we call it Quick Reaction Fund. So we step up and give money to help their cause. So there was unfortunately a mishap that happened, I think like the second to last day of our retreat in Iraq. And we got permission from the family that we could do a single barrel to raise money for the fund. And I let Ben and the team know at Onyx, I'm like, hey, I know we were here for one barrel. Can we do another one? And they're like, that's not even a question. Yes, like let's do it. You're here. So not only did we choose a barrel for that, we couldn't choose between the two that we were deciding. They let us do both. So we're going to be releasing our first double barrel release in Challenge Coin next month. And 100% of the proceeds are going to go to that service member's family.
So you're sending me that link, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'll make sure you get it early too. Early access.
Just send me the link so we can put it on the show and everything and make sure that everyone can support wherever they can.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. We get to do some cool things, and sometimes I have to pinch myself like, oh, I get to help vets and drink whiskey, which was the initial goal of this. But sometimes it's like, oh, it's really happening. This is real.
Yeah, man. The first starting is the hardest part. After that, it's just keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. You said Onyx and Amber?
Yes, Onyx and Amber. Have you had any of their stuff?
No. I was going to tell you, one, if you want, let me get them on the show, put us together, and I'll interview them too for what they're doing.
I'd love to. Yeah, those guys are great. 100% will connect you after this. I'll make sure I put an email together.
Yeah, and I'll put it together with this episode so they could also get that recognition for their efforts and come out with that link.
Awesome. Yeah. We're very fortunate. They believe in what we're doing, and it's funny how we got connected. One of my buddies, he's on our team that helps out a ton, brought like one of their first like big releases out, and I tasted it and I was like, this is amazing. He's like, yeah, just message them. They're really cool guys. He'll probably respond to you. So I slid in his DMs, from Whiskey Valor. I'm like, hey, this is what we do. And he's like, yeah, let's talk. And since then, we've done, how many barrels have we done together? We have 3, I think, released right now that we've done. And then we probably have like 4 more in the pipeline that we're going to be doing with them.
You're not messing around, man. All right.
No, they're good guys. They're an NDP out of Colorado, but what's great, them being an NDP, they get a bunch of different things. So it's not like, hey, it's just one flavor profile, one mash bill. Nothing's ever the same. And so it's, even though it's the same brand, we're bringing different juice out with every release we do.
That's amazing. Definitely put me on with them, and I'm going to look into buying one of those bottles as soon as it comes out. My next question was going to be, how do you go about choosing your distillery partners? Because I think that's also important, right? I think you want to know who you're in business with, if they stand for what you're doing. Like what does that process look like for you? And like,
yeah, it varies, right? Like there's some that, hey, this is a great bottle of whiskey. We know it's going to sell. Let's do that. But we have our friends at Onyx and Amber, but I'd also be remiss and probably would get an angry phone call from my buddy at Blue Bolt Spirits. He was one of the first big supporters of ours, and founded by Jackson and Will. And Will's actually an active duty Marine, master guns right now. So senior enlisted. I don't know how that man works his full-time job as a Marine, but still runs an NDP. But he does it. Again, he has no hair either. So maybe that's why he's able to do it, because he's stressed it all out. But great dude. And he continues to step up and help us. They've sponsored our Marine Corps Marathon team, which without their support last year, when we were like, no one knew who we were, them donating to cover our fee to enter the Marine Corps Marathon. We had 30 runners, I believe it was, charity runners, and we raised $35,000, which was able to fund our retreat that we had.
$35,000? That's fantastic. That's amazing.
Yeah. So their initial donation, to fund have the bibs to run, we're able to grow that to a $35,000 total. So they're great as well. We have a lot of barrels coming out with them. All their stuff's an ode to like the military and service. And so we've been fortunate, kind of go back to your question. I'm a believer in you do good things will come back to you. And we've been fortunate to be connected to these people one way or another. They hear like, oh, hey, they're actually out here doing the right thing. And they kind of, I always tell you, like, if you just give us a chance, hang out with us, come to an event, you're going to see like, oh, okay, they're actually doing the things they're doing. And they're true believers in what we do, and they help out as much as they can.
That's awesome, man. That's fantastic. That's a Blue Bolt I've had before too. So that's a brand I've actually had before. So when you had mentioned that one in a previous interview you did, it was, hold on, I know that one. But definitely some good. It's not a bad problem to have where you get to try all the spirits. No,
it's not. Yeah, it's because my wife starts to roll her eyes. So you might roll your eyes with me this last week. One of our partners, a friend we've met, she set up this whole trip for us to go to Hawaii. Got to be part of a golf tournament where we got to feature our brand, all that. And then we had a private fundraiser for us, and we raised $10,000. But, from the moment I was there, landed, meeting people, networking, doing these events. And like, I call my wife, I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted. She's like, you're in Hawaii drinking whiskey? I don't want to hear it. And so
it's hard work. Like, it's work being social.
It is work. It is work. And I'm a social butterfly. So she's like, I know, but it's just sometimes, especially social media, you just like, oh, he's out doing this fun thing. But there took time to make that real, take those photos, then the conversations and the late night emails. And like, I know I was late replying to you, but there's all this stuff going on that people don't get to see. They just see, the cool pictures on Instagram.
Louis, I'm not going to roll my eyes at you at all. Because I have similar issues. Like, oh, you have a show and videos and pictures and photography for cocktails and spirits. Ooh, shut up. I'm tired. Do you know what time I'm editing till? 3 a.m. Leave me alone. Yes. I'm tired. So no, yes, you get to do the fun thing, but part of that fun thing came from hours and hours and hours of work. And even during that fun thing, you're representing a brand. You can't have too much fun because you can't represent your brand well. You can't represent your brand well. And there's a bigger picture past the fun.
Yeah. The worst part, especially when they bring out some special pour, I'm like, I can only have like one or two, not as much as I would like to have if I was at home enjoying the special bottle.
Yeah. Trust me, I understand. Not Hawaii, but I understand. All right. So for those listeners at home who want to support, I know that we talked a little bit about the spirits. For those who want to support but aren't drinkers, what are their options there? What can they do? And what are the avenues? Like, what other things can they get involved in?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that question, but I also want to tie something in here where you mentioned like aren't drinkers. One thing I want to plug in is that you don't have to be a drinker to come to Whiskey Valor. Like, first and foremost, we're about community and camaraderie. We have plenty of people who attend events and who actually are like staff on our team. We're all volunteer who don't drink at all. We have a couple of them who are like, hey, I was a professional drinker. Then I realized like I can't handle that. So, I don't do it anymore. And we respect their decision, no matter what it is, to not drink. But it's more about the community. And because that was a fear of mine. I was like, well, if someone who doesn't drink going to want to be around, and we have people show up, they say they have a great time. They offer to be DDs, which is always nice. But you don't have to be a drinker or a whiskey drinker at that to come to Whiskey Valor events. But if you don't want to buy a bottle of whiskey, that's fine. I will plug in that all of our bottles of whiskey that we release come with custom challenge coins. Like, so for this one, for the Pat Tillman bottle helmet, because Pat was a football player, has their logo on one side, has ours. So when you buy that bottle, part of the reason there's a little bit of a markup is because we have to cover the cost of the coin. But now you get something that no other barrel pick is giving you. You get a single barrel that supports a great cause, and you get a challenge coin that's custom to that release.
Beautiful. Okay. Awesome.
But yeah, so outside of that, we do donations. We have a Give Butter account, which is just a donation platform. You can go in, leave a general donation. We have different campaigns. So if you're like, hey, I want to support, but I want to focus on the wellness retreats, we have a campaign for that. If you want your money to go towards the Rideshare, we have that as well. If you just want to do a general donation, we can do that. We have our running teams, as I mentioned, like the Marine Corps Marathon. So if you are a runner, or I'm not a runner, I'm on the team, but if you want to come run, suffer for a little bit and help fundraise that way, that helps out a ton. There's just a ton of different ways. And if you have an idea, pitch it to me. I don't know everything. So if you have an idea and like, oh, we can make that work, let's do it. Because I'm not going to let my pride get in the way of us raising money, to help our fellow vets.
Hear, hear. Yeah, definitely not a runner. I have a friend, John, who would run marathons for no good reason. I told him that cars were invented for a reason. I don't need to run everywhere. But
yeah, I'm not doing a marathon. Not happening. I'll go support those who do it, but I'm not doing it.
I'll hold the signs up. I'll do all that stuff. I'll make sure you have your bib, your bananas, all that. So definitely, I love to hear it. And I love the fact that there's options. And we'll definitely put everything in the show notes from this episode to make sure that the links are live and everything. And if anyone does want to participate, 100% make sure that you do so. So make that available for them. One of the things I like doing on the show, I know it's a Friday night. Your wife is probably like, what is he doing? Having fun without me. So we're going to wrap up soon. I like to ask people, for the last call, what's your deathbed cocktail or drink? If it was the last drink on earth, what would it be? And if you want to throw in an extra credit, who would you share it with?
Oh man. All right. So last cocktail would be, I'm not a big cocktail drinker, and I apologize if you can hear the dogs. I have 2 very large dogs and they are losing their minds right now.
Nope.
So it sounds like you can't hear them. So that's good.
Nope. You have a short microphone. Yeah, it'll be fine.
All right. So cocktail, standard old fashioned. Love that. Right. Especially a smoked one. Those are great. But I think when I first got into whiskey, as mentioned, Buffalo Trace, like the first tour, remember doing all that. I became a big fan of Eagle Rare, and I always joke around like that's my desert island bottle. It's simple, it's tasteful, and I could just sit there and drink it all day. Not going to, because we're responsible drinking, but it's just something, an easy sipper I love to have on my shelf. Just if I'm stuck between all the choices I have, I'll just grab an Eagle Rare and like, hey, I can drink this, enjoy it. I'm gonna be happy. And if who it is, it's my dad. Dad's role model. He's the reason I did a lot of the career stuff that I did. And he's not a whiskey guy. He's actually a beer guy. So one of my favorite things is when I get to, hey, try this, try that. And, he puts up with it with me. And then my thing's always surprising him because, he likes a lower proof. But if I give him something hazmat, oh, this is really good. I'm like, well, that's 142 proof. And he's like mind blown that he enjoyed something that high proof and it didn't, destroy, his throat or anything. He always says it burns when it goes down.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Those are good pours and a good person to drink with.
Thank you.
Similarly, I've had my mother try like Old Forester birthday bourbon 2023. She's like, what is this? And she drank it and she's like, it's not that bad. And she kept like, I'm like, the heck? I was like, you just made a face and now you want more? I was like, I love this one. Hilarious. But all right, man. Well, where can people find you, support, any closing remarks, upcoming events? I know we obviously talked about the craft, the tasting event in September, but anything you want to make sure people are aware of?
Yeah, so you can check us out at whiskeyvalor.org. We have a future events tab. You can see everything we have coming up. I would say our best place to follow us is Instagram, at Whiskey Valor. We also have Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, you name it. We post a lot of things there. We're going to launch an educational series about like the legal side of drinking, when it comes to like why certain laws are the way they are and, what's the difference between a DUI and a DWI. So you look for that. You'll get some content. We do some irreverent humor. That's military style humor as well, because we are talking about something serious, but want to make it fun.
Yeah.
And then some things coming up. August 15th, we're going to have a tasting with Sagamore in DC with the Reserve Organization of America. And what's awesome about that is when we do our tastings, we have someone called it it's a timeshare model. We in order for you to do the tasting, you have to do something prior, right? And that's either learning something where someone's telling you about a different thing, that supports veterans, or doing a community service project. And for that one, we're going to do care packages that we're going to ship to deployed reservists. So you get to come out, meet some people, help out some people who are deployed right now, protecting our freedoms and giving them some comfort from home. And then you get to drink some amazing whiskey after. Again, don't know what else you could ask for. It sounds like a great time. And we're going to have the rideshare vouchers for everybody who's in attendance to make sure they get home safely.
Awesome, man. Thank you. And I laughed a little bit when you said the timeshare thing, because when you were talking about the retreat, I was like, hold on. it's a timeshare with a good reason, with a good purpose. Yeah. I was like, oh, you're going to enjoy the vacation, but you're going to have to learn about yourself and how to get better.
We'll cover the financial aspect of it. You're going to put some work in.
Exactly. So Yeah, that made me laugh. I was like, I thought about that earlier. But Luis, man, thank you for spending your Friday night hanging out with me, having so much fun. Tell your wife that it was amazing fun without, I'm joking.
It was awful. He asked these like really weird questions. I didn't enjoy it at all.
Exactly. Yeah. Just you didn't have a single bit of fun. But to everyone watching and listening at home, I do want to say a huge thank you to Whiskey Valor Foundation for coming on the show. And Luis, I really enjoyed hearing about your story, how you ended up here, and what you're doing for veterans. Looking forward to seeing you in September. Hope, fingers crossed, get the time. But it's genuinely inspiring to see how you are, what you're doing for the community. And it started with just wanting to spend some time with veterans, do something good for them, and drink whiskey. So see, it's a good thing. If anyone does want to get involved, make sure that you head over to whiskeyvalor.org. You can sign up for their insider updates to get first access to their single barrel releases, find out about upcoming tasting events, or make a direct donation to support their wellness retreats and rideshare vouchers, as Luis shared. I'll link everything in the show notes, but as always, take care of yourselves, drive safe, be good, and see you guys next week. You know, there's nothing quite like mixing up a refreshing summer cocktail or pouring a neat glass of your favorite spirit and stepping out into your patio as the sun goes down. But down here in Central Florida, we all know the one thing that could instantly ruin that perfect evening vibe: mosquitoes. You're just trying to enjoy the tasting notes and instead you're swatting away the local wildlife. That's why I'm thrilled to partner with Burn Termite and Pest Control. Summer is right around the corner, and Burn is here to help you reclaim your backyard. Their targeted mosquito treatments are exactly what you need to keep your outdoor spaces comfortable, relaxing, and bite-free all summer long. So don't let bugs crash your next patio happy hour. Give the local experts at Burn Termite and Pest Control a call today at 321-297-7985 to get your yard summer ready. Again, that's 321-297-7985. Call Burn Termite and Pest Control, and cheers to a pest-free summer.